All right, we can begin the meeting.
Okay. Have we established who's going to be, are you taking minutes? Who's taking minutes?
I'll take it.
Thank you.
Thank you. Hold on. Need to turn the page, I think. Hold on, I gotta find the. All right, now how is it that I've lost you guys here?
We see you well,
I don't see anybody else on my end though.
other than yourself.
Not even myself right now.
Okay. Well, we see you.
Oh, wait, hold on. Come on. Oh, there we go. Yes. Weird way to do it. Okay, I think I'm good now. All right. Call to order the September 9, 2020 Poolesville Parks Board meeting. Time is now 7:05. Anybody have any comments before we get started?
I make a motion, we approve the minutes from last meeting.
We hadn't gotten to the call to order yet, though.
Oh, you did. You just did.
Oh, shoot, what did I do? All right, then,
That's what I thought you were doing when you said the
Yeah,
date and
well-
time.
yeah, I was, sorry. There's some noise going on here on my end. I don't know if it's bothering you guys, and then it's, I'm trying to flip back and forth here, not very successfully, through the agenda. So, anyway, it's been moved. Do we have a second?
Yeah, I'll second.
All right, McIntyre seconds. Any comments, changes, referred, otherwise? Hearing none. Take a vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 I guess we got to raise our hand, right? Nobody can know for sure. Any opposition or abstentions? No. Thank you. All right. So everybody, our next meeting is October 7. Seth, do we have anybody in waiting rooms or anywhere that want
We
to?
have in waiting rooms. It's less citizen comment and it's more about items that are on the agenda. And so if you want to wait till those items, we can tee them up and then bring them in for discussion since those are their agenda items.
Yeah, let's do that. That makes a little more sense.
Certainly.
Okay, so did the minutes already. My fault for out of being order. Well, old business is the nature trails and paths that we recently walked here. Do we have the gentleman in the rooms?
Yes, we have Finley Ryan and Andrew Adams. I will pull them in here in a minute just to kind of give a quick overview if you haven't had an opportunity to review their proposal. They broke the project into two segments. Segment one goes from the Beaver Pond to Coteen Way. Segment two goes through the middle school property. They're proposing that this would take about 15 weeks to complete. Again, probably a pretty aggressive schedule as well. But the one thing I noted that is missing in this report is the note that we may have to find some property boundaries and property pins. So they could either use a metal detector or there may be a local surveyor who is inclined and interested in helping. So that's all I have from a staff element on this. I can bring in the young gentleman if you'd like.
Seth, just before we do that, I noticed that there was I don't know, I guess a fair amount of work that was going to be done by staff or with the help of staff. Are you good with all of that? And is that going to make?
Well, I think we definitely have to
budget?
schedule that in and think about it now. I have to admit, I guess I didn't see how, how much they were gonna work with, staff to clear that versus some of what they're going to do. And I think that's probably something we need to discuss with those gentlemen and Preston in terms of where they see the workload split, how much of that, they anticipate doing and how much is gonna be town staff crew, because we have some of our own projects that we need to take care of. I mean, and some of this may be later in the season post grass cutting, but we're still putting off some things because we've been busier this summer than usual. You've all cut your own grass. You can see that you have in August, right?
Yeah.
We either have our crews. So that's pushed everything into October and November at the earliest and some other things. So, that may affect their 15-week time schedule, depending on how much they need from us. So I answer that question by giving you all the parameters, but no definite of what is the division of workload and what do they need from us, which I think is to be fleshed out.
Yeah, and the other thing that I just occurred to me, I was sitting here, we need to be sure that they are able to, that staff either uses the brush hog, or that these guys are, I don't know, I think you got to be 18 before you technically can use them, right?
That's what I was gonna bring up. I don't know.
Yeah. I know for scouts you have to, because
town
of,
employees.
yeah, I mean, I know scouts, you can't handle a power of machinery. I don't know what, these guys have with their.
I would just say from a town perspective, if, I don't know if we want anybody other than town employees handling heavy equipment like that. I don't know if these kids would be scared, be covered under insurance.
Yeah, well, that would
That could
take
be an
care of it
issue.
probably.
I don't know, Preston, what your thoughts are?
No, they shouldn't handle any of the power. Now, if they bring their own chainsaws or whatever, that's their business. As soon as they touch our equipment, it throws us in our ballpark. So I really don't believe they should handle anything that gas powered or any of our big machines.
Or brush hog that they talked about in the
Oh, the
proposal.
bush hog. I have guys I don't want driving it. So, but Bryce is good at it. I'm just telling you, my man Bryce has learned how to do it. I run him through there all day. But in general, that truly is an adult piece of equipment, because if you mess up, the people get hurt. The person driving it can get hurt. So we would do the bush hog.
Hey, what is the bush hog? Is that a tractor that pulls something, or is that like a large lawnmower?
What it is, we
like
have
Pat
a Kubota, medium-sized tractor, and we have it's literally a pull behind thrasher mower, basically. I mean, it doesn't cut like a carpet. It just beats everything down to about 3 to 4 inches, and it can handle up to trees that are about 2 to 3 inches in diameter. So that's why I consider it, it's a bush hog, and it's, it's not a finish, but you run that through first, and then you can come in with some hand work and, finish things up with it.
How do you get a tractor to drive through that area that we walked through?
Yeah, I could do it. We can do that. You drive right over the thorns.
Okay.
Drive through the thorns. I mean, it's a 4-wheel drive tractor. I was hoping to have a new one this summer with a cab. I want to get scratched up as much, but the budget kind of shifted a little bit. Then it's
Yes, it did shift on us a little bit.
but anyway, yeah, but we can do that. We can drive right through it. The biggest concerns on those trails they proposed are crossing the different valleys we have and the washouts and stuff. That's you can't run bush hogs through that, and trying to get around that, we would have to contact Willard. I mean, there'd be a lot to some of that area to get it done. So, but it's doable, very doable. But it's just not like you can just go in and run that bush hog, for 5 hours or whatever, because there are things that have to be moved or crossed and everything.
Yeah, Seth,
How big's how wide's the bush hog?
5 foot.
I understand this is technically feasible, but Seth, what's our risk for having a bunch of kids? What's our liability risk for having a bunch of kids doing work on town property with chainsaws and whatnot? Is there going to need to be some sort of waiver situation?
I think we could do one of two things. First of all, I think what we could do is talk with Jay Gullo, our attorney, to see what we can do. Some sort of waiver umbrella. Maybe we even, I don't know exactly what we do for, summertime help, what sort of level we bring them under our umbrella of, insurance and policy, and look at something of that nature, right? These are volunteer people, unpaid, could they almost be treated like, summertime help, except this is volunteers, and be covered under, the actions and duties, within town government function, maybe do something like that. I mean, that may put us out there a little bit, but it's just an outside the box creative thought is what I'm thinking. But
Yeah,
and it
that
may be
sounds
just
good.
simply signing a waiver as well. But
Just wanted to make sure we're thinking about stuff like that.
yeah, we're definitely gonna have to run by Jay anything that is where they start handling such equipment, even
Right.
smaller power equipment, as I'll describe it.
This is non sequitur, but I just got an email from Terry Pierce saying, is anyone going to let me into the meeting? Thanks.
So, let's see, I don't see Terry on here. I see the two gentlemen. I see a Victoria Robinson and then a Ava Baker, who I'm presuming is actually Terry, who I assume being Amy Baker, who wanted to speak. So it just is in the waiting room 4 people, so I don't see.
I'll respond to him.
Did he click the link? One would hope.
Let's see. I'll ask him all that stuff.
So we're gonna listen to the presentation from these two gentlemen next, once we can figure
Yes,
out
I
Terry.
think that would be appropriate.
Yeah.
Understanding that we'd have to check out the liability, and I
I
think,
still think this is way more than, they're biting off way more than they can chew.
well, I think under 15 weeks, that's very aggressive to me.
I would tell them, I don't think these, well, who knows,
Yes,
maybe they get
yeah,
their fire under tails and get it done, but it seems like an awfully
Ambitious.
ambitious plan.
yeah.
Now, they don't have any sports or anything like that, so their time is not being taken up from that. So that may free up a lot of their time. Maybe that's why they think they can handle it. But that's not an easy job. The town, if they go through there with a bush hog, that's going to be a lot. I personally, if it was me, I don't presume to tell you how to do your job or anything, Preston, but I think if we go 5 foot, it's almost too big. I would look at one of those 2 or 3 foot brush hogs that.
Well, we could rent. We've rented the ones that you walk behind, and then the deck's out in front of you.
Yeah.
Doing that. But here's my thing about a 5 footer going through the first time. The first time, you open it up enough, because what happens if you keep it too narrow, those thorns will grow right back over our trail. I mean, quickly.
That's a good point. Yeah.
So having a 5 foot, and you cut back 5 foot, but the trail's only 18 inches or 2 foot.
Right.
Because like on the trails through the park system, if you notice, we have a blacktop, but we keep 6 to 8 foot mowed off of it. If we didn't, literally every 2 weeks, I'd have to go in there and hand trim all the thorns and stuff out.
Gotcha.
But it's
Okay. No, that makes sense. That makes sense.
You see what I'm saying? It's more.
Yeah.
Fine
Yeah,
to be able to use.
I'm tracking. Roger.
So, but I think in my mind, you're listening to this too. If they run out of time and they don't finish, we don't want something that's out there that either Preston crew has to finish. And at the same time, do we want something that just like dead ends? Wouldn't we want it to at least, if they weren't going to be able to complete it, figure out where to bring the end to, even if you end up coming, the only way back out is back out, but you don't want to just, I would not want to just have it dead end with no sense of where it's going to go next. That makes sense?
Well, are the boys here?
Hey, Terry, do you have on the YouTube video as well?
No.
Okay, we were getting some feedback. I wasn't sure.
That was Carrie.
Oh, okay.
She was asking if aren't the boys in the waiting room?
Yeah, they are. Well, I guess we can discuss schedules with them a little bit more, but it Segment 2 might be the one that is the one that goes through the middle school, maybe the easiest, but ironically, it looks like they're going to focus and start on segment 1, which has the most amount of work on it. So just keeping that when you look at the chart they provide in terms of timeline. But would you like me to bring them in?
Sure, unless anybody else thinks they want to discuss, kind of in private, any concerns they have.
Let's hear what they have to say.
There we go. Yeah.
Yeah, here we go.
Well, it's not really private. It's all on YouTube anyway.
Yeah.
Hello, gentlemen.
Hello.
There's one.
You want to describe your project a little bit?
Yep. All right. So if you want me to just run through the proposal, essentially we're planning it in 2 phases, with the first phase or segment running from the Beaver Pond to the Coaching Way, and then the second segment from Coaching Way connecting to the middle school trail on the middle school property. And so segment 2 doesn't seem to require any crossings, but then we do have a couple constructibles to do along segment 1, making segment 1 definitely the more difficult one, but the bulk of the project. So if you want me to run through the bridges. So on segment 1, we identified 3 gaps to be bridged, or drainage outflows, right? So in the beginning, there's a 10-foot gap near the Beaver Pond Marsh. And then there's one over the Horse Pen branch, and then one over another one that we just called the Big Gap. Doesn't have a name on the map, but was probably the biggest, and that was 11 feet. So all falling in the 10 to 11 foot range. And as you can see on the proposal, I ran out the materials for that. And so that's definitely the bulk of the cost. And you'll see in my notes later about like the pressure treated shortage, but that's the plan for that. And then signage wise, we have not decided on what the sign's going to look like. We thought we would leave that up to you guys to decide or put your input in, because depending on whether you want it to be just a simple name or something more complex with a map and additional information, it kind of would vary. And then tool wise, brush clearing tools for handwork, McLeod's, shovels, pickaxes, hand saws, loppers, and possible chainsaw. So mainly hand tools. Chainsaw, there were a few big branches along the way that definitely would benefit from a chainsaw. But the majority of that after the brush hog is ideally run through there would be hand cleared. And we would work with the town, with you guys ideally, to provide some of the tools, but we would also volunteer source the tools. And for bridge sign tools, that would be completely provided by us, just basic power tools to construct the bridges and the signposts. But speaking of volunteers, so our idea is to bring in volunteers to work on the trail clearing, and then later with the construction of the bridge and the signposts. So the way that would work is ideally we would be working 1 to 2 days a week, maybe 3 if we're allowed to, and then just based off the volunteer, if we can get enough volunteers. But we're pretty confident that we can get enough volunteers out of people in the high school and family friends to go in there, clear it by hand. So as you can see on the timeline, the idea is to kind of go by hand and run the brush hog through there, and then by hand. Yeah.
Anybody have questions for them?
And I can elaborate on anything else. I know the timeline is definitely an issue for some.
Well, Seth and I had talked about if down around the pond, we might have to build a floating platform because the water does fluctuate in there depending upon rain. And he was saying 10 foot. I would almost say it's probably closer. We should have something 40 or 50 foot in there as a raised from where we drive down, where we walk and mow, and off to the right. It's awful salt constantly, and there's water anywhere from 0 to 6 inches at any time of the year in there. So that's something, and Seth and I had talked about that. So that's something maybe we could do to help them out is actually reconstruct that end of it.
You talking at the Beaver Pond, right?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yeah, that's definitely an option. Me and Andrew walked back there a few weeks back just to measure out the different spans. And what we found was where we walked was definitely the longer way, where, like you were saying, you would have to put a 40-footer in there or so and possibly floating. But we figured that if you routed it up a little bit more on the dry land, there was actually a way that you could get 10 feet. And it was pretty dry on both sides. But like you said, we'd have to look at the water fluctuation on that.
And you know, if you further you go up, the closer you go to that one homeowner right there. And it's actually, if I'm not mistaken, there could be a spring house foundation at the head of that. So that's something we probably wouldn't want to disturb because of the historical, part of it too. So we just had to do a little more eyeball work in there. We'll get in there and get some, put an eyeball on it, and I can kind of, we can work it out. But as you know, like you said, closer to pond, it is spongy and soft, and it truly has active beavers in there. So that also adds to the elevation of the water on a regular basis, when they get things clogged up. So just something to think about. And just my years here, I've seen that water fluctuate quite a bit. That's all.
Preston, do 40 or 50 feet, what kind of cost you talking about and what kind of time?
I don't, I'd have to put the numbers on the pad. Like you said, lumber has almost doubled in the last 18 months, and trying to get pressure treated wood right now it's pretty tough to do. So but a rough guess, a guesstimate, a 50-foot span, probably $1,500 type of thing on materials, maybe $2,000.
And what Preston was referring to is one of the things Preston and I discussed is that, the Beaver Pond's an unknown feature in town. And even if just years ago it had been interesting, and, now's the opportunity, right? It'd been interesting just to showcase that little feature in and of itself. Even if it was just kind of initially started as sort of just a little pier off to the side. Well, this is obviously going to be part of a larger connected walking path. So it may be something the town, could, envision as part of something they would have done anyway, and look at it from that perspective, just because it's a nature feature in the middle of town that, people typically don't know about, and been nice to accent and highlight on something. And so this dovetails with their project, and that's kind of what Preston's talking about is, the element of a town feature that's probably kind of neat to showcase, and then their project, could dovetail into this. And that's what Preston was talking about, where he and I sort of extrapolated on this discussion a little bit.
Sure. If we're going to be, I'm just kind of figure out, all right, this is going to come out of what budget, right? I mean, and I'm not saying I'm against it. I'm just trying to make sure that the money's right. You know what I mean? So if we have $1,500 to $2,000 for this bridge, which is I'm assuming in order for this thing to be complete, we're going to need to be there, right?
Correct.
And then, we're going to run our bush hog and whatever, get back through there, because I don't think that's going to have to be done by the town, right?
Yeah.
So I'm just curious as to, is this coming out of the Parks Board, our little budget, Doug, or is this something that the town that's going just as a general line item of the town?
Well, I don't know. I think I guess we should talk about that, or, it's here.
We can take it offline.
Yeah.
We can take it offline. I don't want to take up
I
Andrew
do
and
think
Ryan's.
I do think there's a valid discussion about budgets at this point with COVID and potentially budget-related issues. I need to think about some of those issues. I mean, that's the unfortunate timing part here a little bit as well. It's a nice feature, is the timing right?
Right.
Just because we probably should be watching ourselves a little bit during this economic climate.
So again, I think it's probably something that can be done because it sounds like a relatively small cost to get a really nice feature for the town. But I just want to make sure that, you know, dollars are adding up under whatever line item that we're doing it. You know what I mean?
We want to take a look at that, yes.
Yeah, absolutely.
Hey, Vinny, how, you're estimating 15 weeks for the project. When do you think you could really start? And where does those 15 weeks put you at the end? Calendar.
Well, on the timeline, the idea was that as soon, if the project is approved, we would start that week marking the trail, and then the following week with the rest of it, which includes the clearing and so on and so forth. So 15 weeks from now, hold on.
January, roughly.
Yeah.
And
And if it gets delayed, I mean, you're when do you need your senior project completed?
March.
So your goal, when is the goal to have this? You know, you count your timeline puts you into January, but something always goes wrong. There's always a delay on something. What is your drop dead date you want to have this done?
For sure. March 29th is the drop dead date from school to get the project done. Obviously, we're trying to do it by January. So we're trying to do it in the 15-week time frame. But yeah, we realized that that may not happen. Like you said, with unexpected consequences.
Building in a couple of weeks. Yeah. I mean, just to be honest with you guys, I still think doing both sections, I think it's a pretty ambitious undertaking. Sure, you guys can get it done, but it's it's gonna be a lot of work over a lot of time. I know you guys don't have sports or anything to compete with anymore, at least for the time being, to compete with your time. But it's a pretty big undertaking, and I'm wondering if at some point you can say, hey, we're just gonna, if your timeline looks like you're creeping up and not gonna be completed, you know, you can punt and say, hey, we're gonna finish phase 1 and leave phase 2 for the next global group to come through or whatever. Have you thought about contingencies, I guess, is my question.
Yeah, I would say segment 2 is segment 2 for a reason. Segment 1 is the the main part of it. And segment 2, off our analysis and off our walkthrough, we could see that it was less work, still some good work, but less work. Not just distance, but it's more clear out there. So if that happened, then yes, we could drop segment 2.
One of the things to ask
Additional
about
connector.
the Montgomery County, public schools approval to go through there. I mean, have you started that process? Have you communicated with them?
We didn't want to start that until we had approval from you guys.
Seth, do you have any inkling as to how long that might take them to get?
Not at all, and it's hard to know with the nature of all the schools being turned upside down and trying to carry out basic functions. I'm not sure what that's going to look like for them.
I actually just thought of something. Hey, Preston, you had mentioned we might need access to Willard's property.
Yes. Because
I'm wondering if since hunting season, since hunting season starts next week, and during hunting season, they're doing they do their crop damage permit probably weekly. Are they going to want anybody going in onto their property?
You know what? I can't answer that one. Once again, we'd have to do call to Mr. Willard. Mr. Willard's always been very friendly to the town. But we might get some pushback on that.
Yeah, that was my only thought. I know, and I know they've got a great rapport with you guys, and, but I was just thinking, you know, that is their big time for crop damage.
Yeah. But I mean, we don't, I mean, I can make a phone call or we can have somebody send you know, email to them, seeing if we can. Because they've
Right.
actually they put a very nice road in. And see, I only need to go across that property to take 5 minutes. Because once I'm in the woods, that's it. I mean, it's not like, and them guys, you know, what's going to happen as soon as we start bush hogging it, those police officers are going to be calling Willard anyway. So it's a
Right.
guaranteed. It's a guaranteed. So it's whatever we
Yeah,
do.
that's why I was wondering, because, you know, that,
It is. It's right. They're starting right. The season starts next Friday.
So it sounds like we're gonna need to get approval from Willard, one regardless.
Yes, to drive across his property.
Property.
Now, because I have to, if I start at the bridge, it doesn't matter which direction. If we try to cross at the bridge, it's too muddy. I mean, at the Beaver Pond, I can't get across that with my tractor. There's no way.
Right,
Like I said, I have to come through the top of the field.
right. All right. And then also survey. One of the things that we got to think about is property lines back there, because you're backing up against several different properties as you come through there. And well, there's obviously a strip of town, but we need to make sure that we're not running the town trail in anybody's backyard. Have we thought about how we're going to make sure that that is marked out properly? Finley?
Yeah, we looked at the maps and really, we didn't look at the markers to be fair, but based on our walkthrough, if that was on town property, with the exception of when we cut into the cornfield and looking at the maps, I mean, you're right, we would have to look at the markers though.
Yeah, I mean, just the last thing you want to do is be going through somebody's yard and
Especially where it intersects with those like trails in people's backyards, especially in the lower half.
yeah, that's what I'm thinking.
Yep.
Okay.
To that point, has anybody contacted any of the property owners along the trail alignment to discuss
have not.
that they're gonna have a trail in their backyard now, or at the back? of the property
I
now?
think that it has to be done as well. I mean, we can't run a trail through somebody's backyard without letting, we're not in through their backyard, but behind their property. I think it's.
Yeah.
I mean,
The question is, do we handle notifications as a town project, or is this something
a
that?
town in conjunction with the high school global ecology program.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
yeah,
Seth,
in the
Preston,
past, the town has just sent out letters, I think, to all the residents who, you know, abut up against that, you know, whatever property it was. I think like back when we did West Willard Park, you know, the practice soccer field area.
Uh-huh.
We
That kind of
can,
thing. We, you know, just the town sent a letter saying, hey, this is what's happening. You know, and then I think we gave them a meeting or whatever at some time where they were allowed to comment.
Okay.
Not allowed to, but we're, you know, it was open for comment.
they're invited to a meeting.
Right.
Sounds like a good idea.
And I did, on the survey issue, clearly, I mean, a metal detector will find a lot of these, but there's a local surveyor who has helped out with community projects and he might be willing to assist. I didn't reach out to him directly, but I got the impression that, you know, he's done some community project activities like this before, so he probably willing to be helpful.
Roger that.
And you guys brought up a good point. We should get notices to the homeowner sooner than later. Because, you know, in the past, as soon as we start working in that area, they will be
At Town Hall.
knocking on the door. I'm just telling you. Potential, it will escalate, just let you know.
Yeah, so this is where I'm gonna bring up timeline again. We're having a meeting now. Let's say we approve this now.
Yeah.
That notice has got to go out to,
Monday.
yeah, it's got to go out Monday, right? And we're gonna have another meeting that let those people come talk. right? So we're at least a month.
Yep.
Setback.
You figure our next meeting would be October, what's that again, October?
October 10, I think, or no, 7.
7.
And just recall, I mean, we may need to take this to the town commission for their approval as well. So,
Yeah, I mean, we can, yeah.
I mean, it'd be a recommendation from this body. You've done a lot of homework on there. I mean, I could express that to them.
I mean, we could do the
Right, but I'm wondering if we
recommendation,
can make a
and then if the
recommendation
commission- if-
and then
If the
pending
commissioners
homeowner-
are open, well, go ahead, Pat.
No, go ahead.
Well, I was gonna say, we could make the recommendation, and then if the commissioners were open to it, they could be the ones who citizens come to. Or they could, I mean, or the commissioners could have an open forum at one of their meetings to discuss this.
That's what I was gonna say.
It would
I was
be
gonna say,
quicker.
we can actually get the ball rolling and then
Mhm.
let the townsfolk circle back so that we're not pushing it. I mean, if we do that, we're talking a 2-month timetable, right?
Yep.
I mean, these guys aren't getting started until November, and then we're
It
really
might be
pushing the
best
March
to-
deadline.
It might be best to have it as a separate meeting from any regular town commission meeting, just to give it its own opportunity for discussion. Or just a joint Parks and Rec with town commission if they so choose. So,
All right, so I see we got 3 main things we gotta work on. Get the mailers, the notices to the homeowners. We gotta get the permission from Willard, and we gotta get the survey.
well, and don't forget, we've got the school permission.
Yeah,
In the plan, that didn't come along until a little bit after segment 1, just because it's the second segment. But if you want to do that initially, it's fine
it
too.
looks like you're starting to obtain it week 1 through 3. Like you're obtaining that while you're doing the work, because that's just
Just to get it
conversation,
early.
whatever. Okay.
I mean, I see sort of 4 things here: the survey and pins, the letter of property owners, Willard approval, and the the MCPS approval.
Yeah. I would agree with you, Seth.
Thank you.
So we could, if we're comfortable, we could recommend something which would tell these guys that, we're okay so long as we provide the notice and that timeframe come and gone, provided that we have Willard property, Willard satisfied survey, et cetera. That way, these guys could, when they tick them off, they can keep going. They don't have to wait. And they don't have to wait for us to come, either reconvene or wait for us to meet with, or wait to have a meeting with us and commissioners and the public in general.
You do still have the
how do you
issue, I
feel
think,
about
that
that?
Pat brought up
Right.
about, what about the issue where you guys talked about, how do we pay, or where's the financing coming from for, town staff doing, Preston's crew?
Well, I think there's 2 parts to this discussion. There's an actual cash contribution, so to speak, if you will, regarding the infrastructure of the bridges. Preston's crew is going to be basically, time commitment in. I mean, we're already paying for the staff time, so it's basically, it's a voluntary contribution of the town to this project a little bit through the fact that we're already paying those salaries. But
We're getting something in return too.
that's
in this-
correct.
Yeah.
That's right. That's right. A trail that's maintained by the town. But then it's going to become the question on the budgetary, which I guess that really just leave with the town commission anyway. And I can discuss with them, opportunities and possibilities for funding and go from there.
And since you're talking about staff, October 2nd, I lose 2 more of my part-time workers. I will be down, and I was too light all summer anyways. I lose my next 2 October 2nd. So, and with the way the grass and everything has been growing, we're going to have to, what's important, what needs to get done. And now this project, we didn't know this was going to go right now, but now we have a date. And if we get involved in it, we have to look on what's going to be priority, or do I extend a couple guys a couple months too? There's a lot of options, but as Seth knows, we've been treading water.
Yeah,
We've
that's
been
all we've been
treading
doing.
water. and the weather stays warm and the grass and then personnel, we've been light on, Seth knows that, that's because of Corona and everything. So the reality of us actually getting in, it's going to be interesting. And you know, just letting you guys know, we'll do it, but it's going to be a, you know, something, when you do something like that, something else gets bumped off the table.
I will say that the only
Hey,
Go ahead.
Go ahead, Finley.
I will say that the only task that we envisioned the staff needing direct supervision was for the brush hog, because you guys are going to run that, I assume. And then for the clearing with volunteers, if you want oversight there, I mean, that's up to you, but we're good to do that on our own if it's not like a legal thing.
hey,
Yeah, I think it's
quick
more just-
question, Seth.
Yes.
Hey, Seth, you mentioned that the town would then maintain these trails?
Yeah, over the long term, that's the intention, that the town would maintain these. And I think that's one of the things the commissioners have to consider. As we've discussed over and over again, the intention that this to be more of a nature trail, something fairly simple that you'd find in a state park. But I mean, clearly those bridges are going to need to be maintained over time. You know, trees will fall on them, things will hit them, they'll rot. You know, those are just all considerations we have to consider into this as well. But it is, you know, a question of the fact that we have definitely built a town that is very connected, walkable, and I think this sort of fits that, although this is a little bit more nature trail, but I think it fits our identity out here in the rural reserve that, you know, there's a rural element to it, right? The agricultural reserve, I mean, but
Yeah, I mean, I was just curious because I was reading in the proposal, I mean, I could see us definitely maintaining the bridges.
Yeah.
But the proposal was talking about where these guys were going to create a high school or a group at the high school, I thought, Poolsville Trail Club, to do
Right, I
the
saw that.
basic, I guess, the basic maintenance.
I mean,
I
that'd be
don't know how-
great
I mean,
if
if that- if that's-
it lasted. I mean, that'd be great if it lasted.
I don't know how that's possible or.
Yeah, that's the plan. I mean, you're right about it lasting after we leave, but I'm sure with recruiting some kids that are going to keep it up over the years and then pass it on, we can create it so it maintains and lasts.
Okay.
Carrie, as a commissioner, do you have any thoughts on how the rest of the commission will feel about this or thoughts?
I'm honestly not. Oh gosh, I'm getting such a.
Morgan's just got to mute himself.
Okay, go ahead.
It's still not working.
Oh, you guys are in the same room.
Yeah, it's a problem.
You see the same picture.
Yeah, no, you're fine now. Go.
I'm not exactly sure.
Sorry.
No.
Oh, you were fine.
She's relocating. What?
She's muted from what I see here.
Oh, wow. Out into the darkness of Poolsville.
Yeah, she's yelling at me. She doesn't seem to think that there's an issue with the other commissioners at this point, and we can just
Sure.
move along.
All right. My apologies, but
All good then.
well, good.
We need to, actually, we need to have these guys incorporate the thought process of ours. Maybe we incorporate it to their plan, where we're going to be building a larger bridge. Right now, their total costs are what, 85 or $850 roughly. And if we got to go to a larger bridge, and if we're looking for somebody to fund it, including the town, we need to know what that number is. If it goes up to 2,000, that's a big jump from where they started at 850 and we're
No, I think it's gonna
Says
be
to me.
2,800. Well, 2,500 maybe, because they're gonna
Yeah.
lose some off the smaller bridge, but yeah.
Preston, do you want to put, you know, some pencil to pad and sort of sketch up a number on the Beaver Pond Bridge in particular?
No problem.
So could I get some clarification on what you're talking about kind of keeping the ball rolling while you go around and get the mailers to the homeowners and more the commission and the surveyor? Because if the first task is to mark out the trail, and we don't have a surveyor, or we know roughly where it's going, but we aren't 100% sure, how do we keep that ball rolling, so to speak?
So,
I could put you in contact with a surveyor there and sort of kind of get that figured out and see if he'll do some work pro bono on behalf of a youth project, and go from there. It'd be probably incumbent upon the town to get those letters drafted and just get those sent out, make sure we get them to the right address. We would ask the Willards for approval, and then you would go to, the school district for approval of the going through their property. And then what would happen in terms of keeping the ball rolling as part of this larger discussion is that this would then be, if they make a recommendation, they meaning the Parks and Rec Board, to the town commission, it would move you out of this body and get you to the town commission, where they basically approve this concept, since they're going to be the long-term holders of the trail in terms of maintenance and upkeep from a budgetary standpoint, and also the dollars that would be needed, at least maybe to help out with the one bridge as well. So that's kind of keeping the ball rolling. There's all those things moving concurrently.
But we're still at a hold for starting to mark and clear the trail.
I
Correct.
think the first thing you can do, well, I mean, it wouldn't hurt to have the trail actually marked, because we're actually doing anything, right? So, I mean, we can, if the surveyor is willing to assist Seth with these folks, these young folks, with marking the trail, we can actually start that process sooner rather than later, right? But if it moves out of this body, goes to commissioners, what, 2 weeks?
Yeah, correct. I mean, they just met yesterday, so.
So, 2 weeks from today, or 2 weeks from Monday. So, I mean, that's the only thing I think you can start to do, with the thought in mind that, hey, this is only gonna work if we actually get approval from the commission.
Hey, as part of that letter, then, if you're gonna send the surveyor out and these guys, you may just wanna, give those homeowners a heads up that there may be people back there.
Sure.
As just, as the initial phase of this would be to survey the property and that kind of thing.
Sure. I think that's a good point.
So, would the chair entertain a motion?
Yes. I would. You want to provide it?
I'm trying to think of how to word this thing.
Now, you could do it as a recommendation, we're recommending pending funding.
I think it's really a recommendation of segments 1 and 2 as they provided in their report, with the understanding that there needs to be the school approval, Willard approval. We've got to find some of the property line pins, letter to the property owner, and then the town commission, will just have to provide some funding potentially.
What he just said.
Yeah, most of it.
What are we calling it? What project is this?
They named it the Horse Pen Trail, which I think is kind of a nice little name, but
Yeah. Relevant. I don't know, did Morgan get the recommendation?
Yeah, I'm working on it.
Let me
Okay.
see if I can sum everything up.
I could, I'll read it back to you in 1 second.
well, you might as well make the motion then.
Yeah, I was gonna say, why don't you make the motion if you're gonna read it back?
All right. Okay, recommend to approve phases 1 and 2 of the Horsepen Trail as proposed by applicants, pending approvals from MCPS, survey, and notification of property owners and approval by Poolesville Town Commissioners. I get it?
And permission
Just
from,
mission,
Willard.
Willard, yeah, Mr. Willard.
Yeah, I just generically said property owners, so.
okay, got it.
Okay, I got you.
You folded him in, I get it. I second the motion.
All right,
Who
been
seconded
moved,
that?
yes,
Okay, thank you.
no problem, thank you. It's been moved, seconded. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by raising your hand. Aye.
Aye.
Any
Sure.
nays? Bring your hand down. Any abstentions? None. Passes. Finley, you guys know what you need to get and start tomorrow?
Yep. We're gonna
Okay.
seek out approval and then move towards marking it with the surveyor.
Okay,
Awesome.
thanks, gentlemen.
Thank you.
Looking
Thanks,
forward
guys.
to seeing you again next time.
Yep.
Thank you, guys.
very much.
Thanks, guys.
All right, where is?
Now it's just gonna be the commissioners to figure out the budget, or whether or not they can move it.
Yeah,
Hey, one other thing we may want to just know that might happen. I know we want this as a nice rustic trail, but homeowner wise, they may just put up fencing.
true.
Oh, yeah, on the backs, yeah.
And they'll. Yeah,
Well, I mean, if the trail would still go through that, I guess that little sliver of land that we own back there, but still, it may not be as rustic as,
yeah.
good point.
All right, let's see what that goes there. I think the next item is Chiswell Road, or am I missing one in between with that? I come back.
Chiswell Road.
What's that?
It's Chiswell Road.
Chiswell, okay.
So I just provide this in your packet because there was a couple questions at the last meeting. You've probably seen that the digital sign has been moved to this location
Hmm.
and is there. And then there was a question about what the cost of curb and sidewalk would be along Chiswell. There's a design element, an engineering design element that'd be about 25,000. And then it'd be about $386,000 to put in curb and sidewalk along the whole length, as shown here. If you were just to do the sidewalk without the curb, you'd be then looking at about dividing that cost in half. So you're looking at about, 180,000.
Yeah,
Have you heard back from the homeowner?
I haven't heard back from the homeowner in any fashion. They didn't request to be on the meeting, but no, I haven't heard from them.
I say we give it more time to see if the camera is a deterrent.
Hmm.
yeah, there's no harm in that, and yeah,
I mean, there's no way in this budget, it was one thing to approve $2,000 to build a bridge, there's nothing to approve $386,000.
Yeah.
Correct.
Yeah,
That wouldn't be ready for multiple budget cycles before it was funded, I would think.
And then you'd have to think, is this the biggest priority in town if you're going to spend that amount of money retrofitting the road?
yeah,
And I'll say again that, depending on the results of our temporary radar feedback sign, may be worth looking into a more permanent installation. And, last time I checked, some models, the prices are down about what we would pay for 2 speed bumps. So just something to keep in mind.
And I think we determined we determined speed bumps weren't appropriate for that road.
yeah. at least initially we have. I mean, we can always go back and look at stuff, but I don't think
I
it
mean,
has.
I
a
don't,
criteria.
I'm just saying, did we ask John?
Well, yeah, we were, yeah,
That part I didn't fully get an answer from him on because I didn't ask him that direct question. I was focused on some of these other improvements because we ended up settling out the fact that the discussion was more about getting the pedestrians off the roadway if that was going to be the issue.
mhm,
Yeah, getting the pedestrians off the roadway. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
yeah.
That's
That
right.
was our big
Focused on it. We wouldn't have this issue if there was a sidewalk, right?
right, yeah, exactly.
But, you know, I mean, we've been through this over the years, or, you know, and I think all the sidewalks we've been putting in lately, you know, have the curb. I mean, we know what it's like on 2 or 3, was it Halmos and Hillard and
Yep.
Hunter's Run, where they don't have it, and, you know, cars just end up running over that little strip in between the sidewalk and the street anyway, and it gets to be all just a mess. And then safety wise, it doesn't, you know, doesn't do much of anything for the, or does a little bit, sure, I guess, because the kids are off the street, but
Yeah.
All right,
Go ahead, Doug.
Seth, I've forgotten, the monitors or the screen indication, speed indication sensors we have now, they don't do any kind of counting or have any ability.
They
to
do not
give
do
us
any counting, no.
stats, right? Yeah, none, right?
It'd be nice to have. the stats.
Correct. I do want to think about that long-term in our budget.
Yeah.
And planning those things in.
It would go a long way to, you know, for traffic mitigation, having the statistics.
Yeah.
Mhm. All right.
I wonder if
Sounds
we can-
kind of got the information we need on this agenda item.
Yeah, I wonder if we.
Jay, one
make
other
a,
point you just made
add-on
about the statistics.
update.
Just, you guys got a sec, I was just gonna say, if, I don't know, if this is really true or not, but one thing I had heard from the neighborhood that we're at in Delaware, they held off on getting one of those cameras that provided all the statistics because, you know, you're kind of then liable if you've got that statistics, if you didn't do anything.
Hmm.
And something happens.
Oh. All right.
There's always a liability.
Yeah, just thought I'd throw that out there. If we've got the stats, you know, and you haven't done anything about it. That's where their discussion went.
Yeah. Well, I guess we're at this, we agreed at this point to just continue to monitor, right? Did I get that right?
Correct.
Roger that.
Next
Oh.
item.
So our only feedback will be anecdotal from the property owners who live by. Huh? We'll have to ask them, hey, does it look like people have slowed down or not? I don't know how we would monitor this otherwise to see if people are actually slowing down.
True. I guess in this, at least in this immediate case, all we can do is, I guess, decide when we want to touch base with the homeowners, say, hey, have you noticed a difference? Or maybe word the question maybe a little less.
And they've only been up
favor of
probably
that, but, you
a
know.
few weeks, you know, probably only been up about 3 weeks, so probably need to give it a little more time.
Mhm.
Yeah, I say give it a week, reach out to them. Or give it a few more weeks, reach out to them and see what their thoughts are.
All right.
All right, lending library, is that the, or wait, before we go, any old business that is not on the agenda? Hearing none, we'll move to the new items, and I think the first one is a lending library.
So as
All sports.
staff report says here, Victoria Robinson is proposing this as part of a project. Her packet of information is attached for your review. It's pretty thorough. She's identifying several locations where she'd like to locate these lending libraries. It seems like it's something reasonable the board might want to support. I've gotten requests from several different people who might want, you know, I've gotten requests in the past, you know, could these things be installed in the parks? They've never followed through, but she's looking to, well, we can bring her in and have her discuss her project. what I would advise after this agenda item is a free activity center idea, which can be presented by somebody else. And you might want to think about co-location of those two projects if you're going to approve both of them. You may only approve one, you may approve both, but if you approve both, it may be possible. The free activity center proposal is located next to one of these lending libraries.
I agree.
Would you like me to bring in Victoria?
Yes, unless anybody has any immediate questions. Does anybody have any at all? No, yeah, let her in.
All right. Hello, Victoria. Before.
Hello. It's kind of dark. Would you mind if I move just really quickly?
Sure, that's fine.
Okay, hold on.
Hey, while we're waiting for Victoria, can everybody that's not talking mute so that we don't hear a bunch of background noise?
That was probably my wife and daughter. That's why I muted. Thanks, Terry.
All right, is that better?
Yes, that's good. Thank
All
you.
right, perfect. So I shared a slideshow. I don't know if you can see it or if you want to do a screen share on the Zoom, but we don't even have to go over that if you just would like to go over the informational packet. It's just kind of for visuals. So that's
If you
kind of,
want to, I've shared my
Whatever,
screen.
yeah. Whatever you'd like to do.
we can just go over the packet. I have all of the information here. So
Okay.
starting off, hi, my name is Victoria Robinson, and I'm here because I wanted to pitch to you my idea for my Gold Award project. Actually, I'm a Girl Scout, and I hope you had the time to flip through the packets I sent out before the meeting, but if not, that's okay. I'm just going to be going over all of the same information. So before I jump into talking about the project, just a little bit about myself. I'm an ambassador in the Girl Scouts in service unit number 3211, and I've been a Girl Scout all my life. I used to be in Miss Barron's troop, if any of you know her, before it disbanded this past year.
Yes.
And I lived in Poolesville for 14 years, so I've lived here a very long time. I love this town. I'm a senior in the humanities program, and I'm very involved in lots of clubs. I'm the co-leader of construction for the Midnight Players Theater Company. I'm in Shakespeare Club, National Honor Society, UNICEF Club, so I'm very active within the community. So the Gold Award, I'm not sure if all of you know, it's the highest award a Girl Scout can earn for her service in the community. And I'd love to earn that by giving back to this community, the town and the parks that I love and that have shaped me into the person that I am today. So the project I'm proposing to build, which you brought up earlier, is to build 3 or 4 lending libraries in a few of the parks around town. If you don't know what a lending library is, it's like a large waterproof and weatherproof box on top of a post from which people in the community can exchange books or other kinds of like reading material. The general rule being like take a book, leave a book. So the book supply itself is self-sustaining. These libraries would be a great way to engage the community, even while we have to be apart because of coronavirus, but even after that's over, they'll be a great way for the community to kind of come together long into the future. And I think they'd be a great addition to the parks. So before I get into any more specific details, the general scope of the project, like I said, is building 3 or 4 of these libraries, painting them so they look nice, and installing them in the parks around Poolesville. This project will take relatively 7 to 8 months to complete. However, once all of my funds and materials are collected and all of my administrative things have gone through with the Girl Scouts and with the town government, of course, it would take about 1 to 2 months to construct and install these boxes. The general cost for each library is about $270, and I'll touch on that later in the presentation. So like I said, the Gold Award is the highest achievement anyone can earn as a Girl Scout. And because of that, Girl Scouts, like the organization, puts an emphasis on leadership and community. And so it's with these 2 very important factors that I will approach this project. I'm aiming to complete it with a team of my peers from school and Girl Scouts and use this team for building and painting the boxes as well as any other kind of physical work needed in order to achieve the completion of these libraries. I'm also trying to work with local businesses and also get the community involved in building these because it's for the town. The town should be involved. For example, one idea I had was I wanted to paint the boxes with a few of my friends so that they look nice. And so I thought I could make a poll or like a survey for the community to see what they would like to have painted on them. I was thinking maybe like local plants or book inspired designs. That's just one example. So rolling into the timeline of my project, if it's approved this meeting or relatively soon, my immediate next steps are to find an expert advisor, and of which I have a few potential candidates, but nobody official yet for my Girl Scout requirement, just somebody to help me with the building and the general process. And then to submit my application for the Girl Scout board, I needed to secure like a sponsor, someone I'm doing this for before I submitted. So that's why I'm here before I have approval from Girl Scouts. That approval takes about a month to be registered. So during that time, which would be October, if I submitted it this upcoming week, all I can really do in the next month is present to the regional board, which increases my chances of my application going through, and working on securing sponsorships from companies in the town. After my project is approved, the next step is to start gathering materials for construction, organize my team, and plan where we can physically build these libraries before they're installed and where we can keep all of the materials. And so this would kind of round out to the end of the year, the end of December. Beginning in 2020, my goal would be to start a town book drive. So this book drive would be where the supply for all of the books would come from. That way the community is kind of giving their old books back to the town rather than throwing them away, which would be a large waste. Books, even if they're a little worn, are still so valuable. So I thought it would be a really great way to get the community involved. Then the next step would begin to prepare for the construction of the libraries with some paperwork and scheduling to see when my team would be available to start building. Then starting in March, we would start building with the posts first and then the libraries over a series of weekends. Finally, in April, I would plan to have finished everything built, painted, and waterproofed, then installed in the designated sites and put the books in the boxes so that on April 23rd, which is National Book Day, the boxes would officially open. I thought it would be a nice day for that. And it fits with my timeline. So I also hope to register each box online to the Little Free Library website. So Little Free Libraries is a nonprofit that spans the whole world that provides resources and promotes the construction of these free libraries for promoting like literacy and community. And so registering the boxes online would allow them to have an online presence and be quickly found on a map through an easy Google search. Moving on to like the different sites where I thought these boxes could be built, this was something I really wanted to work with you, the Parks Board, because you have the authority over the parks and everything that goes in them, as I understand it. And so I came up with a few suggestions, which I put in the information packets. There should be 10 of them, 2 for each park. I wanted like how many libraries and my project encompasses and where those libraries go to kind of be up to you. I thought that the libraries would be most used in one of 5 parks across town, starting from like the middle and kind of radiating out. And so that's Perkins Park, Elgin Park, Dr. Dillingham Park, Halmos Park, and Stevens Park. But if there's another park that you all think would be a better spot, I'm completely open to suggestions. So there are 2 spots for each park as listed in your packets, and there's pictures if you want to look. I don't think I have to describe each of them to you, but we can certainly talk about that after I've finished my spiel. Moving on to project costs, which is immediately after that in the packet. It kind of looks like a chart full of numbers, but I'll break it down a little bit. So lumber, which is the first category, it's the main building materials for the posts. And the main kind of lumber I would be using would be cedar and plywood. Cedar would be used for the post, and it's a little bit more expensive than just buying like some cheaper woods, but it's far more durable and it would allow these boxes to literally stand the test of time. The plywood would be used for the physical boxes themselves because it's very easy to waterproof and easy to build with. When referring to additional building materials, which is the next category in the table, that includes materials for the boxes themselves, like door handles, hinges, screws, and plexiglass for the door. I do have a blueprint already set for these boxes, but I'm working to streamline it a little bit because the one that I found and that was the most cost effective is a little convoluted. So the two categories of cost details, which I had in my presentation, but I don't think are in the packet, is how much each box is like physically worth to build. Tools and additional costs, including like paints for decorating the boxes, outdoor polyurethane so that the paint stays for a long time, and like a tamping bar for installation are an additional cost because these are all materials I don't have and they're very expensive. Other materials such as like shovels and power tools ideally would be my own or people who are volunteering to help me, which I do have a few people who have those such materials, but I am missing quite a lot for the installation. I was hoping I could find a sponsor who might provide a tamping bar and a few other materials, but no such generous benefactor has come forward as of yet. Yes, Mr. King, right?
Yes, we can help you out with the shovels and the digging bars.
Oh, that'd be
And a
great.
lot of times we'll go in and we'll use our machine to bore the holes with it. So you and I we've been on the phone the whole time.
Mhm.
You and I need to set a time that you and I go to the parks and do the final, location, because we do have power and water running through the parks and stuff like that. And it might look good, but the feasibility of it might be a little different. So sooner than later, when you get some time, we need to set a walk around and get things finalized into places and stuff like that. But in the past, we've supplied digging bars, rakes, shovels, and help you guys out in that manner. So that takes a little bit off you guys' shoulders.
That'd be great. Thank you so much. I will definitely keep that in mind. I will contact you soon to have a walk around. That would be great. Thank you so much.
Yep.
Where was I? Threw me for a loop.
I think you're at upkeep.
Talking about tools and equipment you were needing.
Yes, I was. Yes, found it. I have like a thing. Okay, so however many boxes my project covers, how many libraries is really going to be up to you. I'm confident that I can handle building any number of these libraries. However, it is a matter of cost effectiveness. And as of right now, I don't really have any way to cover that cost. Girl Scouts does allow for a few different ways to crowdfund. And I was hoping to get some sponsorships from local businesses to provide discounts or help in gathering some of the materials. But that's the main issue for right now, is just finding the money to cover these costs. Girl Scouts is also very picky about like the scale of a Gold Award project. And so building just one box is not satisfactory to their leadership demands. So thus I estimated building 2 to 4 would fit that role. And I also thought it would be a great addition for the town, but it really is how many I build completely up to you. So another Girl Scout expectation is legacy. And that means once I've completed the project, they expect me to pass it on to somebody else or another group to maintain. And maintaining these boxes takes very little effort. The book supply is self-sustaining by the community. As the motto is, take a book, leave a book. And so I would like to pass these on to the town once they're built, as they're going to be on public property. All this would entail is making sure that they haven't been defaced or damaged. So just quickly to recap, the Gold Award project I proposed is to build, decorate, and install these lending libraries in a few parks across Poolesville. This would be beneficial to the town because it would create neighborhood book exchanges all over Poolesville, manufacturing community togetherness through the wonders of reading. It would benefit people of all ages and create another reason for people in Poolesville to patron its exquisite parks. Thank you so much for your time and listening to me. I've left my contact information in the last slide of my presentation, and I also have my name and troop number in the informational packets. Are there any questions about what I went over, or would you like to talk about what you think about how many libraries you want, or the costs, or just any questions?
Yeah, you had early on, you had said the cost per box was, did I write this down, at $270?
For each specific box. That doesn't include polyurethane paints or like tools, but yes.
Where's most of that cost? Because you're using cedar?
Most of the cost is from the wood itself, because it's 2 sheets of plywood for each box, and then an 8-foot, I think
4x4.
Yeah.
4x4 post of cedar.
Yeah. Okay, up cedar. Okay, yep, all right.
Cedar's not cheap.
Yeah.
I think it's a great idea. My only I guess, comment would be, I don't know if I'd want one at Dillingham Park. Just,
No.
just from, yeah, just from that
I
proximity
was thinking
to
the same
skate
thing.
park,
Yeah.
it stuff tend to gets defaced over there. I
Right.
think you're probably better off doing 4, and I like the other park locations that you propose in your write-up. So,
All right,
good
thank you.
job.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. I mean, yeah.
First of all, it's a great presentation. Thank you so much. Very well planned and executed. So congratulations on that. I definitely like the idea of them being placed near, in the parks nearest our schools. I'm a little bit partial to Campbell Park.
Yes.
But certainly Halmos over by the middle school. I don't know what would be kind of number 3 on my list. Maybe.
Really, Stevens, Helmholtz, Campbell, those are 3 fantastic spots.
Mhm.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
mean,
And they're all linked by walking trails. The kids ride their bikes to them and everything. You know what I'm saying, Ms. Cook? It kind of ties, you can literally, somebody can take a bike and ride to each one of those. Campbell, Helmholtz, and Stevens Park.
and
Well-
Perkins and Elgin are on there as well. Campbell's not, but so if Dillingham was the 5th, I would definitely recommend placing Dillingham with Campbell.
Yeah.
And you all of those you can ride a bike to.
Well, Campbell works out well too, because with the redesign for the pollinators and everything, the people have a chance to sit and they can take books out and drop books off.
Mhm.
It's also the closest park to the elementary school.
Yeah.
Of course, schools are in session at the moment, but we'll get there someday. We'll get there.
All right, so what I'm hearing is instead of Dr. Dillingham Park, it would be Campbell Park.
Yeah, I keep the rest the same.
Yeah.
Okay, and then what part of my presentation was that I don't have to build 5. I can do however many you all feel comfortable with. But if you want 5, I can do it.
I think 3 would be a good number to start with.
Okay.
And then, because like I said, the Stevens, Campbell, and Helmholtz, high use, high travel areas.
Okay.
And,
I would agree. Perkins and Elgin would be the ones that I would
yeah, they're just
cut if I was only doing the 3 for sure.
So then just the 3 is the general consensus.
Yes. And then, like I said, you and I should take it afternoon and put the final eyeball on it, and then you can set your price, go from there. A couple things. Don't forget John's hardware store, Poolsville Hardware Store. He's a good person to hit up for donations, especially for nails, screws, and all that stuff there. And then you might want to give Capital Fence a call. They've been very good about supporting the Girl Scouts and Eagle Scout projects and stuff like that. So like you said, if you can keep it local, they have more of a connection. Just a couple of suggestions. And they've been very good about that.
All right,
You can get some cedar from Capital Fence for sure.
that would be great. I will definitely keep that in mind. Thank you so much.
Hey, Vicky, real quick.
Hey, so
was the
I
thought-
like the pictures of the examples. Oops, I'm sorry. So I like that there's
Okay.
4 pictures, 4 examples, I guess you've got pictures of. How do you determine, or who determines which, which design you pick?
So what my plan was to put like an online poll onto the Poolsville Facebook page, and maybe put one on like Instagram for the youth of Poolsville to see what they would like, with a few different options. Based off of my brainstorming, I thought we could paint them to have like local plants on them, just for the Maryland representation. Or I was thinking about doing like book inspired designs where it has like little book covers on them, because it's a book box. I thought it would be appropriate, but my plan was to kind of let the community decide or put in suggestions.
Okay, you're just going to get a ton of opinions.
I'm ready for it. Were there any other questions, concerns?
I don't think so. I think your presentation was excellent and covered all the bases. That's kind of evidenced by the fact that we don't have an awful lot of questions.
Yeah, it was a great job.
Congratulations. Good job.
So just for procedural, we still need to make a recommendation to the commissioners that they accept the plan, but do we want to chat, do we want to, Seth, do we want to maybe talk to the other person that wants to do the other thing and make it a
Yeah,
joint
the free activity
resolution, or
center.
do we do, or just do two? Or joint recommendation rather.
Well, I think we can talk about just locating, if you're inclined to improve the free activity center, just locate that one next to one of her, libraries here, her lending libraries. Yeah,
Right, okay, yeah. All right, so I make a motion that we recommend to the commissioners that they accept the proposal for Victoria Robinson's Gold Award project, pending her donation. Actually, you don't even have to say pending or I just recommend that we
And the proposal.
approve it as written, with the exception of Dillingham Park.
I'll second it.
It's been moved and seconded. Any additional conversation or discussion? I'll go to a vote. All in favor signify by yay and raising your hand.
Yeah.
Yeah, I see no abstentions and no objections, so that passes. Congratulations, Victoria.
Thank you. Thank you so much. This is really
Yeah,
great.
thank you, Victoria.
Thank you.
Great presentation, well done.
Thank you.
Right.
Seth, before you bring in the next group or individual, there's something that historically, some, if not all of these projects might have been also asking for the town to provide a certain amount of financial support. We obviously haven't touched that here tonight. I don't know that we need to, but I just wanted to, if anybody thought we needed to, particularly with this project, if we're, going to co-locate. I don't know. I mean, I guess in this instance, she said that you get $270 a box, and she's having difficulty raising them or paying for them or raising for money. I guess, there we could have said, well, historically, the town has provided for grants of these sorts of projects up to $1,000. And my understanding was years ago that the town had a max, or the commissioners would spend a maximum of $5,000 over the year in those sorts of projects.
I haven't reviewed enough, and I don't have enough institutional knowledge, but my impression were that those were a separate type of grants, mini grants. Not to say that they couldn't be used for this, but I'd have to look into those details. I don't know when the last time the town has granted any of those in a while.
Within the last
They don't-
year.
Was
They
the
don't-
last year? I wasn't sure when they were granted, because there's no process that on October 1st, we accept applications and do those sort of things. I mean, Carrie, do you have a history with those? Okay.
I think it's always been as the projects were presented. Doug, I see your point. I also think that Victoria looks very, she's very squared away.
Oh,
Probably
yeah.
one of the best presentations I've seen.
Yep.
And we gave her two very good referrals as to who she could talk to. I'm sure Dave McKenzie could come up with some 8-foot 4x4s for her of cedar pretty easily, and he would do it with a smile on his face if I had to guess. And I could see John helping out in the plywood and
Oh, yeah, nails and screws.
So, I mean-
That's definitely John, yeah.
yeah.
Let's see what happens. If she runs into something, maybe we can start working on that angle a little bit.
Right.
Didn't we have this conversation a while back where, I don't remember if we actually made a recommendation to the commissioners, but was there, we put a cap, or at least we may have proposed a cap that we would spend yearly on these types of things?
I can't
You guys
remember.
remember? Did we
Yeah, I
do-
don't know that we
I can't
discussed
remember.
anything. I know that in the past, there was, I think it's written down somewhere. Ask Jim. But that, you know, we had this, you know, maximum $1,000 per person, up to 5,000 for the year for these sorts of projects. Eagle Scout projects were prominently involved, as well as Girl Scout ones, but to a little bit lesser degree. You know, yes, the parks, part of the presentation is, it was presented to the parks. The person did that. And they said, I'm also asking, you know, if the Poolsville can provide $500 in grant fees so I could buy, you know, the equipment that I need, something along those lines. And then the Parks Board would say yay, nay, as opposed to recommendation. Send a recommendation over to the commissioners that would get the project, and having us having vetted it, and then generally saying, yes, we'll donate the money, contribute the money, or no, we weren't. I think in other instances, maybe one, they may have actually increased the amount because they realized that it's probably going to cost more than what the student was looking for. Anyway, I noticed that none of these had that request. And I just kind of wanted to make sure that, remind people that we historically had that request involved. So anyway. So we ready for the next one, I guess?
Yep. So it's a free activity center proposal. It's very similar to what Victoria presented, except these are larger in size. And I think she's only looking, Amy Baker is the person proposing this. I think she's only looking to have one of these. So I can bring her in. You can see the email she provided here in terms of information that's in your packet. But if you're ready to bring her in, I can do that.
I think we're ready.
Yeah.
You might need to bring Terry back in too as well, Seth.
I don't see him in a waiting room.
I would just keep an eye out for him.
Okay, if you could, thank you. Amy, if you'd like to describe your proposal.
Sure. Seth, can you do a screen share?
Yes, I can. Let me make sure. Let me see if I got it. Should be shared now, I believe.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Hey, Amy.
Hey. Let's see. So it looks like this is coming up under my daughter's name, but yes, I am Amy Baker. I am the vice president of the Poolsville Moms Club. And we had an idea for a community service project. It is very similar to the Free Little Libraries that I just listened to Victoria's presentation. And this would work very in a very similar way. This is a Free Little Activity Center. Instead of books, it would be games and puzzles and those kinds of things, little crafts, activities. The goal would be that it wouldn't be just for children, but it would be for all ages. So it could be for, it could serve small children, or it could be adult puzzles and adult activities as well. And it works under the same premise that it would be a kind of give one, leave one, take one situation. So the goal for this one is just to have people feel supported and connected, especially during this time of social distancing and kind of isolation, and also looking towards the winter months when people are going to be in their house more and possibly more isolated. So what we're proposing is that the Moms Club would pay for the construction. We have our own budget, so we would have the materials and we would have somebody construct it. And we would just ask that the town could help us with installation, and we would love to have this located at one of the parks. I think it's a great idea to have it located at one of the parks that you were talking about for Victoria's project. We were thinking Halmos or Stevens Park, just because they're the biggest, they're centrally located and have a lot of traffic. I would suggest for this one to have it be located near a parking lot so that people could kind of drive up and park and get to it. That way, if there are seniors that want to take a puzzle, they don't have to worry about walking through the trails. And you can kind of see from this slide, the only thing that's different besides the different activities is that it would be about double the size to accommodate the puzzles and the games. So these would be the proposed dimensions. And on here, you can kind of see this, we would finish it so that it would be painted and look nice. This is kind of the color scheme that we were thinking of. So that's what the finished product would be. And that's it. Do you have questions for me? Feedback?
Like it.
I like the idea as well. And I think it should be co-located with one of the
Yeah.
small libraries. It make
Yeah.
perfect sense. And I would say, I think Stevens maybe, or Campbell's probably the most central, or Hamels. Either of those three, I think, are all.
But now, Amy, you mentioned something that we hadn't heard, that I hadn't heard before, and you talked about the age of the people using this. Initially, I was thinking, just like Pat said, like Campbell Park, because it's close to the elementary school, and I was thinking, my head was over there until you said want to bring home a puzzle or do this or that. I thought, okay, so Helmholtz might be the better one for that on the top parking lot because it's all paved, it's all level.
Mhm.
But it wouldn't. But we need to co-locate it, maybe with the other group. Anyway, you got me thinking. I don't need to have the meeting this way.
Yeah, I do think that would be, it would just open more possibilities for
Yes.
a broader audience to be able to use it if it could be
Right.
accessible by car.
Yeah, the one thought I had on Halmos is it seems to me like it's getting awful crowded up there. I don't know what your guys' thoughts are. I mean, we've got the Echo Ivy things. We're going to put one of these, the free activity center. You know, I'm just wondering what your all's opinion is. If maybe that's a little crowded, and maybe because Stevens I think is a much larger parking lot.
Mm-hmm.
Just my thought.
Well, Stevens is not a bad idea because we have the summer program there. And if there's board games, the kids could use those, put them back in during the summer camp also.
I like that idea too.
Yeah, I do too. Yeah. Yep.
Maybe our pickleballers that are taking a timeout would want to use them too.
There you
True.
go.
Stevens, if I had to do it, I'd say Stevens, high use, young and old use the park,
Yep.
easy access, plenty of room. They have pavilions. If people want to take a game out, they can go over to picnic benches underneath the pavilion,
Yeah.
play. So,
Yeah, and it's got the trails that lead right in and out of it that people
Yes.
walk all the time.
Sounds
I
good.
make a recommendation, or I make a motion, we recommend to the commissioners, they approve the free little activity center proposal from the Poolsville Moms Club. We can leave it open, or we can say we recommend Stevens and whatever, everybody else.
Second,
All right, so it's been moved and seconded, although what are we doing with the co-location idea, or where we want to have it put? Where are we saying we want it in Stevens Park, or are we going to leave that open?
I heard Stevens Park pretty clear, so that wouldn't be co-located, but since it's going to a different park, that's clearly not as much of an issue.
Okay, true.
Well, it would be co-located, right, eventually, because,
Elmo, Stevens, Campbell for the books.
yeah,
Oh, that's right. I apologize.
yeah.
But I think
So-
it's a combination. I don't have a problem with that.
No,
Yeah.
I think next to each other. My apologies. I was thinking something else.
Or
Excuse me.
either side of a pathway, whatever. I
Yeah.
think Stevens is probably the most logical place for it, but I don't want to dictate that on the motion unless people agree.
Well,
Sounds like the consensus, though.
Yeah, I agree.
yeah. it's kind
All right, then,
Yeah.
then amend the recommendation, or amend the motion to say we recommend that it be placed in Stevens Park.
I actually already wrote it in. so
All right.
we're
Sounds
good.
All
So
right,
good.
A little bit outside of the formal Robert's rules, but we'll get there. All right, so it's been moved and seconded. We've also indicated which park we'd like to see it put into. Is there any further discussion? Not hearing or seeing any, I'll go for a vote. All those in favor signify by saying yes, or raise your hand.
Aye. Yes.
Aye. Any abstentions? Nays? All right, motion passes.
All right, thank you very much.
Thank
Can
you.
I, Amy, but it's Amy, right?
It's Amy, yes.
Yeah, my name is Doug McKinney. I was a Scoutmaster for about 13 years, and I'm still about the Scouts. The one thing I would ask you is if we're going to co-locate this with the Girl Scout Gold Award, talk to her and find out what it is that she needs to do as her job. For example, a Boy Scouts Eagle project, he is basically supposed to be the project manager. He walks it all the way through. Doesn't necessarily, pick up a hammer or a saw, but make sure that he manages everything. Don't know how the Gold Star works, but she has to be careful as to what she has done in a management type role in order to earn that award. So I just want to give you a heads up on that. I mean, you may have known it already, in which case I'm sorry I wasted your time, but if you didn't, there you go.
That's good to know. I have Girl Scouts coming through the ranks, so that's good to know. I'll get in touch with her.
Great.
Okay. And
Thank you.
as far as timeline for this, I'm hoping that this could be installed before winter hits. So we're thinking more like November, if that works for all of you guys.
Oh, yeah, I think so. Yeah.
Okay, great. All right.
Yeah,
thank
so
you very
Amy,
much.
you're actually not being held back. I don't think you're being held back by Victoria's
No.
project. I just think, just work with Preston and Seth, to
Okay.
determine the locations, and then you're good to go if you guys are
We're good.
paying for it. and
It's
Commissioners say, okay.
But we should probably head over to Stevens one afternoon.
Okay,
Just put an eyeball on it once again, kind of consider where I could guide her, then we can get yours. And then we have so much room over there. It's not going to be a problem. And it's a very high use for young people. So I think it's a great idea.
okay, great, perfect. I'll be in touch then. Thank you very much.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
All right, take care.
Right.
Thank you.
Okay. Let's see here.
This is so neat. It's like we're creating our own like mini community center pieces all over the pretty cool.
Decentralized community center.
That's right. I like it.
Let's see, let's scroll through. I'm trying to see what's next. Anything.
Hey, Carrie, when are we going to put the chess table in Gamble Park?
I'd be okay with that. You gonna play chess with me, Preston?
Yes, I'll roll with you. But I'm just saying, if we're moving in that direction, I think a nice chess table someplace would be good also.
That's a neat idea.
Yeah.
It's
Sounds
something
neat.
to think about.
I always thought that would be really cool along that walkway right in the center of town too.
Did we had one in Wayland, but the kids kept pulling it off. So if we went a route, I would like to
Okay.
get a marble table that's just super solid.
Yeah, that was gonna be my next question, if we would worry about vandalism at all.
Whatever you
Yeah.
do, you got to worry about it.
Yeah.
I mean,
Get the ones-
we can't go through worrying about that they're going to burn the book box.
Yeah.
Is it,
Right.
chances are no, but I'm just saying there is always a possibility.
Yeah.
But as a community, we are moving in a direction to incorporate everybody, bring people out of their homes together, meet on the trails, just give them something to do. I mean, on the trail besides just walking through. So just that's just something to think about.
All right, so next item, I believe, is four-way stop at Hughes and Tom Fox Avenue.
That's correct. As you're aware, we now own the roads of Hughes, Westerly, and West Willard.
Yeah.
Yes, we finally received the deed about a month ago. So this allows us to make some of the changes we've desired on these roads, as we've all know that while these are county nature and standard, they really are urban cross sections through our community and need a little traffic calming. But one of the things that I've experienced myself doing and seen other people doing and have heard from my staff members is that often people will come up driving on Hughes at this intersection of Tom Fox and Hughes and stop on Hughes, even though there's no stop sign on Hughes. The stop sign in this intersection is only on Tom Fox. So it creates a little confusion as you come up to there, and some drivers may stop and some may not, which creates a problem. But since we're interested in connectivity and pedestrian pathways and walkability in Poolsville, and something we've strived to maintain and achieve, this is part of that extension of slowing down traffic on Hughes and making a four-way intersection at this location. Plus, it's a bigger intersection, if you will, for a four-way stop in terms of width and lane width and those sort of things across both roads in particular. So this would be an opportunity to provide the pedestrians a little bit more safety as they cross through this intersection, and also slow the traffic speeds down in this vicinity. So again, just like what we did on Fisher Avenue with the pedestrian cross lights, this is another feature in our efforts to create a more traffic calming environment for the friendliness of our pedestrians and the walkability of students and our residents in general. So this is our recommendation, my recommendation to the Parks, Recreation, and Streets Committee. And you'd make this recommendation to the Town Commission, as you know.
Hey, you left streets in there.
I did leave streets, and I was waiting for somebody to say that eventually.
I was waiting for the commissioner's report.
It's all you, Carrie.
We'll wait. I can wait.
What'd you say?
So my question is that, so
That's the answer.
the east side of Hughes Road, where we have that turning lane,
Yes.
has always been an issue.
Mhm.
Do we eventually get rid of that turning
Yes.
lane?
That needs
I
to
mean,
go.
that would make it
Turning
so
lane.
much easier for, somebody to see a stop sign.
So to your point, Jeff, there's at least a couple spots in town I've identified now that we own these roads, and definitely at Tom Fox and Hughes Road's one of those. I think Spurrier has a very long one of these, and potentially, I don't think there's one at Westerly on Willard, but up in Willard, there's a couple on Willard that need to be removed. We'll have to be cognizant that we won't be moving the drain. That's probably about 40 or 50 feet back from the intersection. But what I'd like to do is from the drain is move the curb over or make it a swale in that vicinity, just so that we, again, that turn lane is excessive for the traffic volumes in that vicinity. So I don't know why the county ever required it.
Say,
No,
Seth,
it's always been an issue.
Yeah.
Sure.
say, Seth, I fully support a stop sign, making that intersection a four-way stop. I think it's a long time coming, and it's really one of those that needed to be there a long time ago. The only question I have is, as I'm sure you're aware, that when you change the configuration of an intersection with traffic control, to cover our rears, it needs to be supported by a warrant study. And my question is, has John Strong done a warrant study for this intersection that justifies a four-way stop?
We have not done a formal warrant in this location. I'm not sure how many we've done in other locations, but when I discussed this with John Strong, he seemed to think that it made sense in this vicinity.
Okay, just
That was his professional recommendation to me.
okay, just saying it, usually needs a formal statement from an engineer accompanied by a warrant study, but that's okay. If you're comfortable with doing that, I certainly think, like I said, that it's a long time coming for that intersection.
Sure.
Yeah, I can certainly attest to that. So, Seth, I'm just trying to picture how a completed or refigured intersection might be, and the right-hand turn lanes in both directions, I'm assuming would be eliminated, and you'd pull that curve out to make them straight. Is that right?
Well, let's focus on what have before us, which is just turning into a four-way stop. I would envision in the next paving cycle that we work on some of these issues that I mentioned that have these turn lanes that really aren't functional based on the traffic volume in this location. So it wouldn't be part of this motion. I would think 2 years from now, when we do another paving contract, that we would consider looking at some of these and dealing with pulling these out and pulling the curb over towards the street a little bit for traffic calming purposes.
Okay.
Where are you gonna place the stop sign then, coming into town?
I think, well, coming into town, we may need to have a little bit of a warning one to acknowledge that you need to stop, and then it's going to be off to the side a little bit. It really will be, up towards the intersection. Probably should put some stop bars here, even though this is a crosswalks, but it should denote to the drivers, that this is a stopped intersection location. So we provide those warnings as we can.
And
Yeah.
I would probably put larger stop signs on Hughes Road itself. I'd probably go to a 36-inch sign instead of a 24. And like Seth said, I'd go up the road and I'd put a caution sign with a stop sign in the middle of it. Then they also have these rumble strips. We can just use a heat gun to apply. And there's several things we can do just to make sure people, heads up, something's, coming
Yeah,
up.
because as people come barreling down Hughes, if that stop sign's off to the side with no warning, nobody.
Yeah.
We're definitely gonna need a warning.
And also the same company, they also have we could actually write stop on the road also. So it'd be a double visible thing besides, being on the ground and off to the side. So, but we need it and we will do whatever we can. You know what I'm saying, Seth?
Yeah, absolutely. I think there's multiple options, and
Yeah.
we'll see what needs to work. And if we find that we got to write stop in the road, that's, we can add that as well. There's
So
definitely,
they did,
I would,
I'm
I would,
That's just best practice anyway, right? I mean,
Somebody make a
yeah,
motion.
well, there's been a lot of, I've been approached by several people, and I think some of you guys have too, about putting speed humps in there. It's designated 25 miles per hour. I don't know if anybody goes down there 25 miles an hour, including myself. It's just, the road's not designed for it. It's wide enough to easily do it, but it shouldn't be done. And, there's kids that play out in their front yards there, and that's a concern.
I make a motion that we recommend to the commissioners to make a four-way stop at the intersection of Hughes and Tom Fox.
Second.
Been moved and seconded. Any further discussion?
who seconded?
so
Matt
actually, I
Clark.
just wanted.
I did, Jeff.
Yeah, I just wanted
Barry, you
to
have
point
something?
out. Yeah, I just wanted to point out something. They had something like this, a very similar situation, right at a huge intersection where I grew up. What they did was put a stop sign with LED flashers around it to draw attention to it, just as another visual cue that there's a stop sign there. I just wanted to toss that out there.
thank you.
Good idea.
Except if, yeah, what I want to see is those lights at 3 o'clock in the morning. All right, we have it almost.
Can't let that influence you can't let that influence your commitment to safety, Doug.
What's that?
You can't let that influence your commitment to safety.
We'll see how many people acknowledge the stop sign too, as much as I need to know that we need one there. So we have a motion on the floor. It's been moved and seconded. Any further discussion? No, I see none. All in favor signify by saying aye. Hand, aye. And any abstentions or nays? No. Motion passes. What's next, Seth?
It would be the Superintendent of Parks and Streets report.
Okay. We're ready.
I'm sorry, isn't fall sports supposed to be on there someplace?
Yeah, fall sports was the
Sorry.
first.
We did pass that under new business. I'm sorry. Yes. I think that may be a good opportunity to state where we're kind of at with that. And I think Doug bring the rest of the board up to speed. So as some of you know, Montgomery County has said certain sports in the phase 2 of openings are permissible, and that's where Montgomery County is at. As you're aware, the state has gone to phase 3 opening. Regarding phase 2, that includes the renting of certain fields for certain sports. And so that would include baseball and soccer and things of that nature. And so in communication with Carrie as the president of the commission, and then Doug, we agreed that at least for rental of fields, we would follow Montgomery County standards on what they rent out in phase 2, because that's where Montgomery County is at phase 2. So that's kind of where it puts us with fall sports. It sort of takes the question of what we should do and how we should do, as a conundrum out of your hands, because we struggled with this for the past few months with making a decision. But, it seems if Montgomery County is fine with this, is probably a standard we should adhere to.
Agreed. We lost everything. Hello?
No, we're here. I got you, Preston.
I can hear you.
Yeah, I can still see it.
I think we lost
here.
Pat. Now he's back.
So that just sort of covers that. I don't know if there's anything else need to be discussed.
Yeah, I don't.
No, thank you.
either.
You're welcome.
Hey, Seth, can I ask you a question?
Yes.
What's that?
Hey, so tonight, while out walking my dog, there was looked like pretty organized soccer something going on, whether it's practice or what, at the Halmos field.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry, my phone just went off. And I wasn't sure. I mean, I know we don't have it rented out, but if there is a group of 20-some people playing soccer, is that an issue? I mean, most of the kids had masks on, which, obviously was not an issue, but I just didn't know if a group like that, when it looked organized.
Well, I mean, they're supposed to be
issue.
running the field, so I would have to check with Kathy to see if we've accepted a permit for that. So,
But
I mean, maybe your point, I guess, is the social distancing and mask requirement.
But-
And
The county's allowing soccer to be played now.
correct,
So-
exactly.
And they,
Right,
and
and 50
the
people
soccer
per-
plexes had soccer camp all summer long. They just haven't had games.
Okay,
So
yeah,
what
I
that
didn't know.
constitutes is, I think if the county's doing it, we're good.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Good too.
that was my viewpoint as
Okay,
well.
yeah, I did not know that. Sounds good to me.
That takes us to Superintendent of Parks and
All
Streets.
right.
Roger that. It's been an interesting summer in general, work-wise. I mean, we had a severe drought for 7 weeks, pretty much. And now we've gone to the other end of things. And, our workload has just not lightened up. And normally August and September are my project month, and I just have not been able to get to all the projects, and just trying to keep the parks mowed, some of the spots twice a week. And once again, trying to get things weed eated and, safe. And it's just been like everything else. It's been different. We've handled it. It's just been, we've had to shift gears. There's some things that have not got done. And that's what was my concerns about, the like the trail and other things. It adds up, and we just have to, and like I said, I'm losing 2 workers here in 2 weeks, basically 3 weeks. And right now, it doesn't look like the grass is going to be slowing up for a while. We've been going probably to Thanksgiving on that. And, but anyways, we did have one project that I think really well received with the crosswalks that we put in up at the middle of the town. And we still got to modify them a little bit, which is not unusual. When the first thing you got to do, got to move the buttons around a little bit. Should have some of that taken care of tomorrow. But I really like them. I really, and I do foresee some more throughout the town eventually. There's a lot of spots that really could benefit with some lit signs. So anyways, that's about where we're at right now. I mean, I still like to get to help Terry out here with the mound here sooner than later. But once again, it depends on my personnel and time. That's where we're at on that.
No, I know. That's why I asked, push it back,
Yeah.
into November, because I figured you guys, I know how this goes, right? It's like you have a ton of stuff to do, and it's like, okay, that's kind of lower key. We can just get out there with a few people, bang it out. And
Oh, the thing is, we had
Done.
everything in place in March, and this thing just melted away on us. I mean,
Right.
you went and got the clay, which we still have stored in this perfect condition and everything. It's just this year, just everything has just been messed up on there. And we'll get it shook out. We'll get it taken care of. And like I said, it's a personnel thing right now. Like I said, it is what it is, Terry, and we'll work together, get that squared
I
away.
know, absolutely, and that gives me a little bit of time to try to get a solid commitment from some of the parents.
Yep.
To come out and join us.
Yep. But like I said, a couple of weeks you'll not get together and get a lot. As soon as we get a hard date, man, then you can lock those people down. That's probably the best way we can handle that.
Okay.
Anyways, guys, in your travels, you guys got eyes. If you see anything, just let us know. We'll try to address it as soon as we can. We do have this year though. We put over 120 tree bags out trying to salvage the trees that were planted 2 years ago. Normally you water them for a year and things go well, but this year with that 7-week drought back in June, July, and with the such a long run with 90-degree weather, they were stressed extreme. And so we did lose some, but we always lose about 30 normally anyways throughout the town. I think we're looking at 50 plus right now, and we'll address that as we can too. So anyway, that's where it's at, guys. Still going, getting things done.
Hey, question for you. So question for you, Preston. I saw on Facebook, the people were complaining about that small little island of grass around the middle school that
took care of
the
that.
county had been cutting for years.
Well, we had been cutting it because it was just, once again, it was not ours, but to keep the peace type of thing. And then we tried to put it back on
Right.
them. But it was half a victory though. It was half a victory. We got an area reconstituted to a nature conservation area. So you know what? Half a victory is better than no victory. So
And also we can use that as leverage for the town pathway we're trying to do.
yeah, later on, yeah. So anyways, it's fine. I mean, it worked. Once again, it worked out though. Little give and take, and we made inroads into it.
Yeah.
And, so anyways,
Thank you for taking care of that.
yep, no problem. Seth, what else you got for us, young man?
Well, I think at this point, it's not actually on the agenda, but I think it's a loose item we keep on there. This would be a commissioner's report from the town commission. Carrie, do you have anything?
Well, I think Jeff just wanted to know that we kept streets in the name of Parks and Rec and streets.
I was just curious. Seth didn't say it a couple times until the end there.
I'll reaffirm that.
I'll let you guys watch the tape if you really want to watch our commissioner meeting, but the main thing that happened last night was that we did something sort of odd for our board. We took a revote on a issue that we were quite divided on. Basically, there was a forest conservation easement, a perpetual easement that was granted to the town some time ago, and the property owner had requested that the commissioners amend the easement. And we actually took a vote on this in July, and the motion failed. It was a split vote. It was a 2-2 vote because Martin Radigan was not present for the meeting. And I was part of the dissenting vote, and when there's a 2-2 split like that, it means that the motion fails. Because I was part of the prevailing party, of course, I was happy with the outcome. But then my colleagues then wanted to have a revote, and our town attorney, much to my surprise, said that we could. So we did go ahead and have a revote last night, and this time the vote, the motion passed with Martin voting with Commissioner Brown and Commissioner Dickerson. So it was a very strange evening, but that's where we're at. If anyone's,
Was that for the property owner at the corner of Hughes and Tom Fox?
yes. If anyone's interested in knowing more about it, I'll be happy to chat with you about it offline.
Anything else?
Make a motion.
I heard half a motion, got cut off, but I think Pat made a motion to adjourn.
Hey, one more thing. Hey,
Okay.
we're doing scarecrows this year. I want a good turnout. Let's get the word out. We want scarecrows. We have pumpkins coming in, lit pumpkins. We need some good times in the town, man. People can walk around. Let's get that part done so people can get out. And same thing with the Christmas lighting. We're gonna do it upright so everybody can get out and have a good time. Okay. So
When does
Pat,
the, when does the scarecrow designs begin? When does that?
we just put up the first, the scarecrows. Say here they're coming today, and I think probably October first time period they'll start accepting them, or the second week of October they'll start accepting them. And actually, if you've been here long enough, when they actually get put in, people all day, and now that people are home, it would be even more with people coming around, taking a look at them and everything. Good outside activity. Keep people in town and everything. So anyways, it's one of my favorite things. Like I said, Kathy and I, we ordered up some pumpkins. So at night, it will be actually more lights in there with the pumpkin, big pumpkins and everything. So anyways, that's just my little put in there. Let's keep the town happy, man. Let's do something.
Yeah, I'm glad we're still doing that this year.
Yeah. All right, so it's been moved by Pat Trina to adjourn. What? Go your second.
I seconded. I'm not sure if Jeff
Terry, all right,
Jeff and
Terry
I stepped on
seconded.
each other.
Yeah.
No, I was on mute, Terry. I missed it.
It's been moved and seconded. Any further discussion? Hearing none. Take a vote. Yay,
Aye.
nay, we're out of here. We're out of
All
here.
right, thank you all.
9:06.
Appreciate it.
Thanks,
Thanks,
everybody.
guys.
Appreciate it. Bye.
Have a good evening. Bye.
Talk to you later. Bye.